So if we're looking at number one, what is the value of S? Everybody good with, let's see, this being 16, which would make that 32. So it would be D as in delicious. All right, what are the angle measures of the triangle? Number one is the hypotenuse, double the leg. Absolutely, and if I multiply that by root 3, do I get the other leg? Yes, therefore it would be F as in Florida. 30, 60, 90. Everybody good with that? Okay. P would be 22 root 2. 22 root 2. All right. Everybody good with that? All right, some word problems. In the center of town, there's a square park with side length 30 feet. If a person walks from one corner of the park to the opposite corner, how far does the person walk round to the nearest foot? I believe we're looking at approximately 52 feet. H as in heckaba. All right. All good? And then the last one, an equilateral triangle has an altitude of 15 meters. What is the perimeter of the triangle? So that's the 15, that's 60, which means x root 3 is equal to 15, which makes x 5 root 3, which makes the hypotenuse 10 root 3. Why is that important? Because the hypotenuse of the 30, 60, 90 is the same thing as the side length. And if I multiply that by 3 to get the perimeter, I believe I'm going to have C as in cheese stick. Pretty good. Any issues whatsoever? Good. Okay, just letting you know, tomorrow you can work on the productive struggle problems that we practiced today or the quiz review. Productive struggle is being submitted by Wednesday because your quiz is Thursday. Productive struggle needs to be submitted by Wednesday at midnight. You'll get a copy of it today. The 8.2 practice gets submitted tonight. Everybody's aware of that. And then Thursday, you have your quiz just on 8.1 and 8.2. All right, and as elastic Friday, we come back. We will finish what we started on Wednesday, which is an introduction to trigonometry. That's what we'll work on next week. You can expect your next quiz and your first quiz of the year to be in class. We will take that quiz on that last week of school. So we're talking 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, whichever one of those days you guys are here. We'll be taking it in class. That way we don't have to do an elastic bunch of it. That way if there's any issues, you're here and you can ask questions. Just trade it brain. All right, everybody good? Okay, if anybody's looking for extra help with anything, I will be in the 910 library today. All right. So let's start what makes honors people what you are. Outstanding. All right. Everybody have a good weekend. Okay. All right. How do you hear everyone? Yeah, you know. There we go. What I get for trying to do. All right. So everybody's got the productive struggle problems. All right. So a quick Pythagorean theorem problem. Notice problem in all caps. Quick being a little bit of an under exaggeration. All right. So here we go. Double check something. STP, productive struggle. Yep, it's up there. Okay. Okay. So, a giant California redwood tree, 36 meters tall, cracked in a violent storm and fell as if hinged. The tip of the once beautiful tree hit the ground 24 meters from the base. Researcher Red Woods wishes to investigate the crack. How many meters up the base of the tree does he have to climb? Okay, so basically what we have here is that's the first part of the tree, and then it falls like that. What do you agree? Okay, so we generally assume when we're doing these that we have the shape of a right triangle. Okay, so it says the tree was originally 36 meters tall. The tip of the once beautiful tree hit the ground 24 meters from the base. So this part of the right triangle is 24. Okay. Now, what would you like to make the unknown? The part that's standing or the part that's hinged? It's not going to matter. We can do it either way. Standing? That's X. Now, here's where a little critical thinking comes to mind. Originally, that and that were 36 combined. So if that part is X, what am I going to use to represent that? Like what math you would do if it was a number. So if that was 10, that would be 26, correct? What math would you do? Awesome, 36 minus X. So that's how we set it up. Everybody good with that? So if they ever give you the initial height and it changes, that's what you're going to do. All right, so X squared plus 24 squared equals 36 minus X squared. X squared is going to stay at X squared. 24 squared is 576 equals 36 squared, 216 and 1080 is 1296 minus 72x plus X squared. Two questions. One, does everybody understand where the right-hand side comes from? If not, I will gladly explain it to you. Now, great. When you square a binomial, okay, because it's important because kids forget this. When you square a binomial, you realize you can't just square the parts. So when you square a binomial, I'm going to write down here so I got more room. 36 minus X squared, maybe I should actually show it. There we go. Equals the binomial squared. So it's 36 minus X times 36 minus X. Now you're going to use your distributive law of FOIL. You do 36 times 36, 36 times negative X times 36, and negative X times negative X. So you got to do polynomial multiplication. Everybody get that? Okay. So the 36 squared is what gives me the 1296. Negative X times 36 is negative 36X. That would also give me negative 32X. Combine that to give negative 72X. And then a negative times a negative turns it into a positive and X squared. Good? All right. Now, second question. That's going to be so helpful to us. What are the X squareds going to do to each other? Cancel out. So what looks like a quadratic is not going to be. Okay? Everybody good? All right, so now I have a linear equation, negative 72x, 1296 equals 576. If we want to isolate the variable, how do I get rid of a positive 1296? Subtract. Negative 720 equals negative 72x. How do I get rid of a multiplication by negative 72? Divide, and x equals 10. All right. Now, whoever decided to make it the base, that's a great job, because that's what we're trying to answer, how many meters up. If for some reason you didn't, and you made back to 36 minus x, it'd be fine. Okay? You would just end up with x equals 26 when you did this part. You'd have to do 36 minus 26, which is 10. Either way, you still get the same answer. Everybody good with that idea and the hinged tree? Awesome. Okay, let's go underneath. All right, one of my favorite problems in the world, the sliding ladder problem. 25-foot ladder is placed against the building. The bottom of the ladder is 7 feet from the building. If the top of the ladder slips down 4 feet, how many feet will the bottom slide out? Okay. Now, here's the key to this problem. Make sure you draw yourself 2 right triangles. Now, if you put a ladder up against the wall, what's going to be the hypotenuse? The wall or the ladder? The ladder. You agree? Okay. How big does it say the ladder is? 25 feet. Okay? 25 feet. So when the ladder slides down the building, does its length change at all? No. So when it ends, it's also going to be what? 25 feet. All right? This is my initial, and this is my final. Initially, the bottom of the ladder is 7 feet from the building. All right? So that's that measurement right there. When you get this, ooh, that slipped. When you get this on the quiz on Thursday, instead of the wall, it'll say the base of the wall. So you know that completely and understandably, it's from the bottom of the wall. All right? We don't know how much it is, so we're going to call that X. At that point, do we have enough information to get, all right, to get X, the missing dimension? Absolutely. We can either use Pythagorean theorem or triples, and X ends up being 24 from triples, or you just use Pythagorean theorem. It then says the top of the ladder slips down 4 feet. So initially, it fell on the wall 24 feet from the bottom. So if it slides down 4 feet and it starts at 24, what's its new height for my final triangle? 20. All right, and once again, we're either going to use Pythagorean theorem or triples to get the other height. 15 feet. If it started 7 feet away and it's now 15 feet away, how far did the bottom of the ladder slip away from the wall? 8. Notice it's not 4. It's not always double. It's not, depends on the triangle and all that kind of stuff. All right? Does everybody understand the premise of doing 2 right triangles? And the hypotenuse stays the same because that's the key. All right, now we got a little algebra, baby. 3 sides of a right triangle are represented by the expression x minus 34, x, and x plus 2. Find the perimeter of the triangle. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, we have to assume that x is positive. Main reason being, if it wasn't, x minus 34 and x would both be negative numbers, correct? So x is positive. All right? So x plus 2 has to be the hypotenuse. Everybody understand that? X plus 2 has to be the hypotenuse. Now the x and the x minus 34 are interchangeable because they're both letters. It can be anything you want. You got x and x minus 34. But you could have put those on either spot. It's not going to matter. So now Pythagorean theorem kicks in. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. All right. Okay. So I'm going to make AX. I'm going to make B X minus 34. And I'm going to make C X plus 2 squared. All right. Now you know why it was so important that you thoroughly understood what happens when we square a binomial. Because that's going to kick in here. So now I got x squared plus x squared minus 68x plus, oh jeepers, 34 squared. 33 squared is 1089, 34 squared 1,020. $34 squared is 1156. X squared plus 4x plus 4. That's a minus. All right. Now I'm going to simplify both sides first. It's going to make my life easier. 2x squared minus 68x plus 1156 equals x squared plus 4x plus 4. All right. Now I'm going to get it in standard form using the bigger x squared as my guide. So since the bigger x squared is on the left-hand side, I'm going to move everything over to the right, which means I'm going to subtract x squared from both sides, 4x from both sides, and 4 from both sides. Everybody good with that? So now it's going to give me x squared minus 72x, all right, plus 1152 equals 0. All right. So now I have to find two numbers that go into 1152 that add up to negative 72. Now, the first thing I would think of is 4 because 4 goes into 52. And that gives me 288 and 4, which is way too big. That makes sense? So that means I need to make that number smaller and that one bigger. That's how I use math. So I might want to double the 4. If I double 4, I got what? 8. And then I'm going to do 1152 divided by 8. And I get 144. What? $32 and 36? I'm just going through the process, dude. This is 72. I get 16. So I'm going to keep going. 18. And I end up with 24 and 48. 24 and 48 add up to 72. I believe so. 1152 divided by 24 is 48. 48 plus 24 is 72. So that becomes x minus 24, x minus 48. My two solutions are then the opposite. The opposite of negative 24 is 24. The opposite of negative 48 is 48. Now, what happens if I plug 24 in to x minus 34? What type of number do I have? Negative. So 24 is extraneous, leaving me with 48. If I plug in 48, I have 48, 14, and 50. Are all of those positive numbers? Yes. Is it true on the scale? No. But does it matter? No. Because what am I then trying to find? It's what? Perimeter. So what do I do with my three numbers to get the perimeter? Add them all up. And I believe I end up with 112 units when I'm all said and done. Everybody good? All right. Now for your quiz, they're not all going to be like this. I'm not that mean. I'm just preparing you for the one or two. Tommy, smell what I'm stepping in, picking up what I'm putting down, trying what I'm washing. Tommy, bagging what I'm making. Shoveling what I'm snowing. Okay. Find the length. Oh, another great problem. Why am I the only one excited? Find the length of the longest pole that can be placed in the rectangular box. Rectangular prism with dimensions 70 by 15 by 10. Okay, we're going to show you the long way, and then we're going to show you the easy way. So here's the long way, the way I love. All right. So we have a box. I'm going to make this the 70. I'm going to make this the 10. And I'm going to make this the 15. But it's not going to matter. You can put them anywhere you want. So here's the idea. For me to fit the longest pole in a room, it isn't on the floor. It isn't up and down. It's going to go from where? Corner to corner. Does that make sense? We're talking about a three-dimensional Pythagorean theorem problem. All right. So basically, in order to figure this out, the first thing I do is figure out the diagonal of the floor. All right. So I'm going to do that. So you can pick any two numbers you want, and you do Pythagorean theorem. 70 squared plus 10 squared underneath the square root. 70 squared is 4,900. 10 squared is 100. And 4,900 plus 100 is 5,000. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, hint number one, leave it like that. Do not simplify. Do not estimate. All right? So for the sake of just explaining you the problem, that's now the square root of 5,000. You good? That's the diagonal of the floor. Then to get the diagonal of that, I'm going to do the right triangle that's right in the middle of the room. In other words, this one. Okay? So I'm going to do this one now. And that's the square root of 5,000 squared plus 15 squared. All right? Underneath a square root. All right? I leave the 5,000 as a square root because what happens when I square a square root? What do they do to each other? Cancel out. And I'm going to have the square root of 5,225. I'm going to have 5,225. And then what am I going to do in my calculator for that? The square root. So square root of 5,225, a lovely palindrome. And I get 72.28. $72.28, and I rounded to 72.2. Am I wrong? Right? Don't want to make a decision? Why did I not round to the nearest and instead round it down? Think about it. 72.28 is the longest. So if I round up, whether it's the closest or not, it's going to be too big. In other words, you always round down. Make sense? Tomorrow, if you don't want to join the live stream, it's fine. But we're going to go through rounding when it's a decimal of inches. That's really we're doing two problems tomorrow at the beginning of class, and then we're going to be working on this. But does everybody understand you always round down in this case? Okay, now idea number two. If you want a quick and easy way of doing it, that's the formula you use. A squared plus B squared plus C squared minus U squared. So in other words, in this case, it would be the square root of 70 squared plus 10 squared plus 15 squared. And if you plugged all those in, guess what you would still have? 5,225. So if and when you get this problem again, all you have to do is that. The main thing is making sure you remember to round down. Everybody good? Okay. Let's look at the back, see if there's anything interesting there. All right. A cyclist rides north at 12 meters per hour for 2 hours. She then travels east for 30 minutes. When she's finished, her total distance from her starting point along a straight line was 25 miles. How fast was she pedaling when she was traveling east in miles per hour? Okay. So we'll start with the cyclist moving north. She goes 12 miles per hour for 2 hours. Everybody good with that being 24? Everybody gets that? Speed times time? Okay. She then goes this way, and we don't know how long that is yet. They don't tell us how long that is. They tell us how long she did, 30 minutes, but we don't know the distance. When she's finished, her total distance along a straight line was 25 miles. All right? Because she traveled north and then east, does everybody get that? It's a right triangle. Okay. Even if you drew it in the wrong direction, it'd still be okay. You just have to have the right numbers and the right quantities. All right, so what am I going to use? Pythagorean theorem or triples, and x equals 7, which represents miles. But they want to know how fast was she traveling in miles per hour. So she did 7 miles in 30 minutes. 30 minutes is what fraction of an hour? Half. So 7 divided by 1/2 an hour would be 14 miles per hour. All right? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. All right, and then the last one for the day, find the perimeter in the area of the following triangle. Okay, they don't tell us it's a right triangle. So x plus 2x plus 3x. 2x plus 3x equals 180. Everybody agree with me on that? 6x equals 180. And x equals 30. All good? That means this is 30. This is 60. And this is 90. Oh, we got a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. What is the Okay. So now opposite to 60 represents x root 5. All right. Opposite to 60 is x root 5. All right. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to make this a number. Let's make it 3. Okay. So we're going to make that 3 root 5. So x root 3 equals 3 root 5. All right. Now I'm solving for x. How do I get rid of a multiplication by root 3? Divide by root 3. Make sense? And that's going to give me x equals 3 root 5 over root 3. Does 3 go into root 5? No. If it did, it'd be great because all we do is divide from last week, but it doesn't go in. So now we've got to rationalize the denominator. And I end up with 3 root 15 over 3. What are the 3's going to do to each other? Cancel out, leaving us with root 15. So this is root 15. No, you would need, like, that's because of the 3. So if you had 6, you set it equal to whatever it is. So if instead of 3 root 5, let's say that was like 8 root 5, so you would have 8 root 5 equals x root 3. And then you would solve it that way. It just happens to work out that way. So you just set x root 3 equal to whatever the radical is. The reason we're going through this is because the radicals are unlike. So it doesn't just cross out like it did in the problems that you have homework. Okay? So we would divide that by root 3 and rationalize. We'd end up with 8 root 15 over 3, for example. All right. So we got root 15 for this. Now, to get the shorter leg, remember we divided by root 3. Make sense? So what's root? Now this would be root 15 divided by root 3. Now, does it go into it? Yeah, so all we got to do is divide. What's 15 divided by 3? 5. Makes sense? So this is square root of 5. And then the hypotenuse would be 2 root 5. Because it's always double the shortest leg. All right. To get the perimeter, what would we do? We would add them up. Okay. Root 5, 2 root 5. That's weird. All right. Tomorrow, if you want, I will go through that one after we're done with the warm-up. We'll come back to that one so that'll make more sense to you. If you want to start on the one that's due Wednesday, we'll throw it on the stool. All right. That is the homework that corresponds to the Google Classroom. It's due on Wednesday at midnight. All right. I will be in the 910 library after school. I got to go back and look at that one. Guys, have a great day. Thanks for coming in. Oh.